This one had some shims in it. That's going to need a spacer for sure. Another good size one. Maybe one here too. We could just cut this and put our own little spacer in there. So that does it for this side. Let's check over here. I was working on this, already added some spacers in there. This one fits nice. Maybe true up these edges a little bit, and it might just go right back. Check this one. That one's going to need a spacer. This part, I don't know, maybe a big shim. Actually, I think we decided to take these plugs out. These are ugly. We're going to just cut these, put our own board in there. That would look better, because it's right here. You can see it when you look in the piano. So that's how much it shrank, or is shrunk right now. This one is going to be to the edge, like that. That one, this next one might be able to be glued right here. It's all a big puzzle. I think the first thing I'll do is work on this joint. Glue this panel to the main panel. Fix these cracks. That's easy. Just open these up, make sure they're clean, and put some glue in there and squeeze them. And then this panel will be just about ready to be glued on. It's in good shape. This will need to be fixed later. All this damage. Over here is okay. That'll stand out. If too much of this is gone, like over here, the glue joint is just not strong enough. It's not there, and it will press down too much, and it might do strange things. So we're going to add wood there. So I will get to working on this and glue this panel to the main panel, and we will be back. This is a Voss & Sons. It's now going to be part of a Steinway. And the grain looks to be about the same. That's good. That's what we want. The color is close. I'm sure this will lighten up if we sand this. It is thicker, so we can sand it and it will lighten up. It'll be much stronger than if this was repaired. So I'll just trace this and put our new piece right there. It'll be a very good repair. It'll be a lot stronger than this. So I'll just cut this out and we'll be back. This is an odd picture. This is the bridge off of the upright that we salvaged. It was junk piano. But it looks the same. Even that locating pin there. They have the same thing on this one. So I would say this is an 1880s Steinway upright. And I'm taking some pins out. It's hard to see, but this one's all rusty and a little short. These pins in this bridge are the exact same size, and they're in a little better shape. Some of them. This one was very bad. It was rusty, kind of pitted. So I'm just going to clean this one up and put this in our Steinway bridge. Right there. That's why we save these old junk pianos. You can't find these anywhere. And there's one. Almost exactly the same. There's the patch. They should lighten up a little bit. It's not sanded yet. It's a tiny bit proud. Doesn't really matter, I guess, the color, because this is under the plate and no one ever sees this. But this is much stronger than the other piece if it was to be repaired. The other piece was very damaged. This is good. Using old wood to repair old wood. So now we have to work on that end. It's looking good. I glued the crack that was here on this panel. I don't have it right here right now, so I think I can go get it and we can see how it fits. Here's that plank. You can see it fits very nice up to here, and then it splits. So I think I'm going to just flatten these two edges and then maybe put a expansion spacer in there. Might be able to just glue them together. Let's see if I could put a spacer in there. I don't know. It's so small it might not need one. Be over a little bit. We don't want to lose too much of this glue joint when this moves over like that. I'll flatten these edges out first and then we can look at it again. Look at this again. This is very nice. You can see a little bit of an old decal there. That is from our Vos right here. Just cut this out. Same shape. So Vos & Sons is now part of an old Steinway. Here's our panels. Nice flat edges. I believe this one is going to need a spacer. You can see the rim there. Little spacer. Maybe like that. I'm going to be very careful to select the right type of wood and color, because you don't want this stripe to stick out too much. When people look in here, they'll go, "Oh, what's that?" So that's going to have a nice spacer. This is going to have probably a board in there. Just get rid of all of this mess. That one might be able to go together. But for now, I'm going to select some wood. We have this Vos piece here. Might work. It's a little, might be too thin to work with. It's a good color. Probably too thin. The grain looks to be too tight also. This is wide grain right here, this little section. Here's a piece. How's this look? That looks okay. Oh, it's too short. So I'll go up in our loft and select some wood and see how it fits. Here's my panel. Nice wide grain there. Delicate edge. I should have did this first and then made the edge flat. We have our soundboards up here. Here's a big piece. Oh, this piece is being difficult. There we go. That looks pretty nice, just under the bridge there. I think it would be too short though. These bridge marks are almost impossible to get out. You would see that if we put that in. Let's see, this is probably the other half of that panel. A little beat up there. How about under this base section? It's hard to tell. Looks like it's a little too fine grain. Close. How about this? That looks okay. Old Mason and Hamlin. It's very wide. This is a little too fine. I'm sure there's a piece up here somewhere. Maybe this one. Feels thick enough. It's definitely wide up there. A little wavy. That's a Hume upright, according to that. So this might be a good selection. Maybe not. Ooh, that looks good. This looks like a winner. It's thick enough. If I could put these next to each other, would you be able to tell? We got bad light up here, but that looks really good. This looks like the winner. I'll bring this down, clean it up, and we can look at it. Fresh out of the glue, or fresh out of the clamp. Still has glue on it. It looks good. It looks like the same board almost. If that glue wasn't there, you might not be able to see the seam. Here's the back. You can see the ribs went a different way on that piano. The green goes the correct way. Looks good. I'll clean all this glue off, and we can put this back in the case and see how big our spacer needs to be. Here's the next section with a big board added. I cut out all those old cracks and plugs. That's going to be just like that. I'm going to trim this off. That should be good. About the same type of grain. This should lighten up, hopefully. Even out the color. This one should lighten up too, like here. I'll glue that on, and then we can put the last piece on next. Still working on the bridge in between soundboard work. I believe this section is just about finished on the top. I think this section is 2. The top pins are, or the tops of the pins are almost finished. Nice and shiny and sharp. This section needs a little more filing, I believe. Those need to be pounded in. This bridge is almost finished. Once the top is done, I can sand the sides. That's easy. Clean the bottom out, or clean the glue off the bottom. Drill that dowel out. Get it ready for a new dowel. Those big dowels there, those go through the soundboard into the ribs. No, they just go into the soundboard. There's no holes in the ribs on this piano. But those are going to be put on, and this bridge is going to be glued onto the soundboard, and then we're going to put these pins in once it's glued to the soundboard, because those pins go into these. There's only a little cap that separates the top of the bridge to the dowel. So if I put the pins in now, it would jam everything up. So that might be a little tricky doing that in the piano. Hopefully it goes smoothly. This is coming out nice. It should be done soon. Here's the top of the base section. I filed this nice and flat. We used the paper to see if we're missing any, if any are lower, and they're all showing. So now I can take a nice flat sandpaper block with some sandpaper and go over these with some nice fine paper, and it will put a great shine on the tops of these pins. It looks very good when you look into the piano. So I'll do that to this whole bridge now, and the top should be done. Here's the pins after a quick sanding. Hopefully you can tell they are shinier, smoother looking. The file was a little rough. Fine sandpaper helps. So this should be finished. They look pretty good. Some rough edges. So now all these need is just a dot of super glue around the base of the pins to really make them nice and solid. And then it will be finished. Here's the bottom half of the soundboard with our plank we just added, this big piece. You can see the grain goes the right way, wide grain. I let this end overhang a little bit. I'm going to cut this off. We're going to lose all this bad edge, which is good. We're going to have a nice square edge here. I'll flip this over and clean the glue on the face, and then I can prepare to glue on the last little corner, and we'll have a complete soundboard. Here's the freshly washed board. It's still damp, so it's orangier. Over here is nice and dry. And this little rounded spot is the last piece that needs to go on. I'm going to strip this right now. This will finish off, should come off in seconds. And then that will just glue on just like that. I don't think it needs a spacer. And once this little piece is on, the panel will be all together. And we can shape it a little bit. This is longer than it needs to be. It's overhanging. We'll cut this off. Sand the back, and we can prepare our press. Here's the last piece of the panel. You can see it's crooked. This piece bends up, so it's a little trickier. Got my nice hot glue. The panel is nice and warm. There's a slipper right there that I glued on before this. That was all loose. Hopefully this goes smoothly. These should hold it flat. And just a little bit of pressure. There. Here's the ribs. You can see I sanded these ones. They lightened up quite a bit. These ones I need to sand. Very dirty. Dark brown ribs. Not much to show here. I guess it's interesting to see how the longest ribs are the thickest. See how thick that is compared to this last one in the base. It's obviously much shorter. It thins the ones in the base down. And towards the treble too, they kind of went shorter. Just interesting to see how they built these. They wanted the base to be a little softer, easier to move. The bearing is often 0 or very close to 0 in the base on these real old pianos. The trebles are nice and stiff. Heavy ribs. These are very stiff ribs. Probably because of the age. Hardwood. So those will be cleaned soon, and then the ribs will be ready to go onto the soundboard. Here's one of the rib ends. You can see it's all busted up, so it's getting a little bit of glue. That should make it nice and solid. Here's the panel. Did some sanding over there, it's looking better. This strip should lighten up a little more. It's a little darker than I would have liked it to be. Here's our other big patch. This came out really nice. We have 2 more patches there. Spacer shims. Spacers. And here's our base section. This whole thing from an old Bose. The next thing I'm going to do is clean out all these old shim repairs and put our own shims in there. Clean this glue out. Clean these cracks. Get them ready to put one of our shims in there. Here's a real big one. There's quite a few long ones here. Should be not too hard. We have a good tool to make shims and a tool to open these cracks nice, clean them out, and dig out all this glue. We're going to plug these. This whole area is under the plate, so it'll be okay. It'll be good. Here's the soundboard again. You can see these hairline cracks go up to about here, so we're going to put a shim that starts from here. We're going to clean this out and go all the way up to here. This hairline crack is opening. We have this pushing down because this is wanting to spring up and this one's wanting to spring down, and it was uneven. We have shims under this part. It was a little tricky to get it nice and flat. It's flat now. It's ready to be cleaned out, and we'll make some shims and put shims in all of these big cracks. And here we have I think this is an official piano shimming tool. And if you have one of these, what you can do is get rid of that. Don't use those. Those are impossible to control. Get a nice hard piece of steel like this. You can bend it. Put some nice tips on it. That's a blunt one for bigger cracks. And on this end we have a nice sharp end. And the shape of this allows you to hold on to it with 2 hands. It gives you really good control when you're dragging this along the board, so you don't wander off with this little thing. It's very difficult to go down these cracks with this. So we made this nice shimming tool here. It should make this much easier. Here's that big crack from yesterday. I put a shim in there. It dried overnight. Now we can plane it off. See how it looks. Don't want to hit the board. That would be bad. Here's that shim again. I planed it down as much as I dare, and then I cleaned all the glue off. That's why it's a little darker now. It's wet. I'm going to let this dry and then sand this, and it should look very good. Like this one over here. There was a big split here. And there's a shim in there now. It's not impossible to see. It ends right there. It looks good though. A little more sanding, that'll disappear a little more. This one should turn out just like that one. We have a few more to do. That's a big one. Big chunk here too. A lot of these are going to get shimmed from both sides. Here's the next crack. I'm going to open this up. It's not too good in here. I'll just open that up and put a nice shim in there. Should make it better. Might be tough. It's kind of closed and full of glue. Maybe 2 shims. We got a bunch of shims in here now. I need to put one here, a little short one here, wide one, a nice long one here. This is the type of stuff we make our shims out of. Old salvage soundboards that are too small for anything. I have this nice long one here. I'll cut a nice thin piece off of this that will become the shim. And this is from a Steinway, according to that. So that's probably what it's from. That's pretty neat. This is probably close to 100 years old, maybe older. So that's what we do. Soon this board will be all together. Here's the back side of the soundboard. The top is fully shimmed. There's a shim there that'll be trimmed off. You can see a little bit of wood stuck through there. Some of these cracks were very big. A lot of glue spilled through. So we're going to put shims on this side now. Put a nice shim there. Nice long shim on this one. That's a big crack. That was a tricky one. This panel and this panel were separated and they were kind of flopping around. So we had to hold them flat and put a shim in. So I will just clean this glue out here. Put some nice shims on this side. And then the board will be all together, just about. This, I think, will be fixed soon. All this chewed up wood. We'll just plane this off, glue this down, and then add our own wood there to create a glue joint. The first thing is to put shims in these cracks.